there's a reason why, the digital ad industry is in the billions of dollars of revenue. Billions. They wouldn't be spending billions if it wasn't working. So we know it works.
Well, this is episode number 177 of the Missional Marketing Podcast. I'm Bart Blair, joined by the CEO of Missional Marketing, Mr. Jason Hamrock. Good day to you, Mr. Jason.
Good day, Bart. It's a great day today. I'm excited.
I would call you Dr. Hamrock, but you're not a doctor.
No.
But he plays one on TV. No, he doesn't play one on TV. You could play a doctor on TV. I bet you could pull that off.
I could fake that. Yeah, you bet.
You could fake that. Yeah, it's good to be able to hang out with you today. We're going to be talking about something that we absolutely love, which is digital marketing. Well, we are Missional Marketing. This is the space that we're in, and we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on digital ads. If you happen to be new to the show, we've been producing this podcast since 2020, since like right around the time that little thing called the COVID-19 pandemic hit.
Yeah.
We've been producing the podcast since that time because we're trying to help churches grow by leveraging digital marketing and effective communication. So many of our episodes are specifically on sort of that outward-facing communication, the marketing, reaching people who don't yet know that your church exists or haven't yet decided that your church is the right fit for them. Or we might be talking about things that are related to your internal communications and how to have better systems and structures and processes in place so that you as a communications director or a pastor or a wear all kinds of hats in your church kind of person, whatever role you play, maybe you're a volunteer, maybe you're on staff, we want to help you be better at what you do because we believe that what you do is super, super important. We're trying to communicate the gospel to people and help them live it out. And the role that you play is critical in that. And that's what we're here to do. So, Jason, we're going to record a conversation here discussing digital ads. In fact, the title of this podcast episode is Do Digital Ads Still Work for Churches? We're 2026 now. It's 2026. Is this really something that churches should still be spending money on? We get this question often. We spend thousands of dollars on ads every month. We're trying to drive growth in our church. We're just not seeing new visitors come. Jason, you and I have both spent years helping churches run ad campaigns to reach more people for Jesus. The internet is changing. We do know that. We've talked about that some. We're going to be talking about that more. Culture is certainly changing. So what I want to do is dive into some of the things that maybe do work, maybe some of the things that don't work, maybe some of the things that used to work that aren't working well anymore, or maybe some new things that churches haven't considered but ought to be trying. So here's where I want to start, and I'm going to kind of pitch a question to you and get you to kind of respond to this. Churches spending $500 to $1,000 a month on ads, barely seeing any new visitors, just not seeing the needle move where they want the needle moved, is with a budget of $500 to $1,000. Is it even worth spending money on marketing? Talk to me that.
The bottom line answer is, yeah, it is. I mean, there's a reason why, the digital ad industry is in the billions of dollars of revenue. Billions. They wouldn't be spending billions if it wasn't working. So we know it works, right? We know it works extremely well. The question, though, that you're asking me is a great question. And I get that same kind of question myself from churches going, yeah, we're spending money on this stuff, but we just don't see. Well, I think there's probably three things that are wrong, three things I can identify that we should look at that could be the reason why this is not working. The first is the platform itself. Who are you trying to reach? Who are you targeting? Because if you just think, I'm going to throw some money at Facebook and hope that gets people to walk through the doors. Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes, that can work, but you better be able to spend a lot of money because the people who click on those ads in Facebook or in Meta are maybe not your target audience. Now, Facebook, probably not. Instagram could be. It all depends on who it is. In the Google side, it all depends on the platform you choose on who you're trying to reach. So that's the first thing. And you got to dive into what platform is the right platform for who we're trying to reach. Second is the ad itself. Maybe the content, maybe what you wrote down for the ad headline in the subline there, maybe it just isn't hitting. It's not on point. Maybe it's the image or the video you chose to run in that ad. That all matters. Let's just slap something up there and hope it works. Not a good strategy. So the actual content and the imagery or the video and the ad really, really matters. So the platform matters, the ad itself matters, and then third, and maybe this is probably the biggest one because you can get clicks, is your website, the landing page that you're sending these people to. Does it all look cohesive? Does it look exciting? Does it say to me, ooh, I want to check them out? Because if there's a drop in any one of those three, the ad platform, the ad itself, or certainly that landing page, which we can get into more details, if that isn't on point, forget it. They're just gonna be like, they're gonna move right on.
Yeah. It's interesting. There are so many different examples or illustrations that I could give for this.
Yeah.
But I think about, how many times have you like, I don't know, I don't know if you do this, but you want to take your wife out to dinner and you see a restaurant and from the exterior of the restaurant, and like, that place looks really cool. We should go check this place out. And it's a nice idea. You look up what the restaurant might be like, and then you go and you have the experience, and the experience didn't match up with what you thought you were going to get. That ever happened to you? It's happened to me all the time.
Can I tell one little story? So
yeah.
I love to take my wife Sarah on a date night, and I'll tell you, I found this little dive, and when I mean dive, bad part of town in Phoenix, south of Phoenix, horrible looking exterior and everything like that. They had like 1,600 reviews in Google Business Profile. 1,600. I'm thinking, what? Everybody was saying, don't let the outside just even begin to explain how good their food is and how great their customer service is. And so I just read. I'm like, all right, let's go there. It's our favorite restaurant, hands down. If we go to this restaurant, it's awesome. We brought so many people, all of our friends there, because the Google Business Profile, the reviews told me one thing, the pictures of the food told me one thing, the exterior told me a whole something. I'm glad I didn't just rely on the exterior. I actually checked it out because it's amazing.
Okay, I'm going to try to relate that to what I was going to say here. But like, here's the deal: the ads that you're running, the creative that you're running, the platform that you're running your ads on, is designed to entice a click, right? We want to get people to the website. That's really the first impression. It's like the exterior of the building. And if I'm going to be honest with you, if I'm going to open a restaurant, I'm going to do the best that I can to try to make sure that the exterior of the building is appealing so that people do want to try. Yeah. But when people go in and have the experience, it's the experience that they have there that's going to actually get them to come back or go deeper, right? And so it's that landing page. We see this as a fail with churches all the time. They spend tons and tons of money to drive traffic to the website, but spend very, very little time and energy building a landing page that really tells the best story and entices the visitor to the website to want to go deeper with the church. So it's all those different things. So, the original question, should I be able to attract new guests to my church with a budget of $500 to $1,000? Yeah, I think that the answer to that is simply yes. You could probably do a little bit less. You could certainly do a whole lot more. You and I were on a call earlier today, and I was explaining that I had a conversation with a church today that had received a grant to do some advertising, some marketing, and I told them that we would not do their advertising unless they rebuilt their website. I'm like, I'm not going to let you spend the $15,000 that you have in marketing money to drive people to a website that's guaranteed to pretty much not attract anyone to your church. The website doesn't do your church justice. So those are certainly some good things to consider. And so wrong platform, bad creative equals wasted money. The right platform with great creative and a bad website is wasted money. You've got to have all three lined up so that it works well for you. Let me get the next question, because you kind of hinted on this a little bit, and that is the platform. What platforms should churches be investing in? Is it Meta? Is it Google? Is it something else? Everybody seems to have a different opinion. Some people are all in on Meta. Some people are all in on Google. What's the right call for a church that's really trying to grow?
Well, it's interesting you say just Meta and Google, because there's other ones. What about TikTok or LinkedIn or X or we just chose not to really focus on those as a organization because we don't see the ROI. And not that you can't. I think if you do any kind of advertising, there's probably some juice you're going to get. It's just you're trying to get a lot of juice for that squeeze. And so we've really leaned in on both Meta and Google. So we'll just talk about those two platforms here. In Meta, you got Facebook and you got Instagram. And we've ran, I don't know, tens of thousands of campaigns and received millions and millions of clicks over the years. And I'll tell you, the people that on Facebook that click on those ads are usually 60 and older women. Just a reality. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe they're the decision makers. So if you're putting together a women's conference, maybe Facebook's great. I'd probably also go Instagram. Instagram, more female dominated, just a little bit younger. So, Meta tends to be great for specific things like building awareness or maybe reaching women for a women's conference or something like that. It's great, like storytelling. So yeah, I certainly would want to maybe do both. It's just how much ratio budget do you spend on either platform? If you don't have that much money, I probably would lean in Google, not necessarily Meta, but maybe both of them, then you get everybody, right? But Meta's, like you said this, and Meta's audience is aging, right? Which, it's interesting. It'll be over the next 10 years, are those younger people in their mid to late 20s or early 30s, are they going to graduate to something like Facebook? I don't know. Something changes when you start having kids.
Yeah.
Because your parents are on that platform and now you want to. So you were just mentioning your kids will reach you one way. You're like,
my kids send me messages in Instagram, which is weird. Like, just text me. They don't do it a lot, but from time to time, I get these messages in Instagram. I'm like, that would have, could have, should have been a text message, but it's kind of weird that it was an Instagram message.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So Meta, Meta's good, but it's aging. We know that it's nothing like earth-shattering news, breaking news. We know this. But Google. So I think Google, if you have it in most churches that we talk to, and I know this is true for you, Bart, that your clients and the churches we talk to, they don't know a whole lot about Google's advertising platforms. It's a little more complicated. It's like, ooh, which one do I choose? People think, isn't that just search? No, there's a lot more sophisticated platforms in Google's advertising tool belt than just Google search ads. And yes, Google search ads are declining because of AI, but that's a whole nother conversation. But if I were you, I would choose their Performance Max ads, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's around their AI that helps, not because you're not just looking for more awareness, you're looking for conversions. You're looking for people that are going to show up to church. They're going to walk through the doors. And that's really what it's built for. And so it's not just engagement, it's really conversion. So your cost, what you call it cost per decision, which I'd love that, tends to be lower in Google because it's a cheaper platform, and you can get a bigger reach for the same dollars. I think in terms of clicks, maybe than the other platforms. And you put this is a great bullet point. Think of it this way: Meta is for awareness and storytelling. Google Performance Max is for growth. And you might want to run a Meta ad for like a women's kind of a thing, but then you might want to focus on something like Google if you're going to try to get more conversions to something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to hide it. I tend to lean more towards Google ads than Meta ads. Generally speaking, I think bang for buck, it's a better way to spend money. I think churches that have limited budgets can stretch their budget further when they're advertising in Google. And there are certainly some pluses to the Meta platform when it comes to drilling down on audience and the demographics that you're trying to reach. So I think that you can get a little more exclusive with who you're targeting in Meta ads. The problem, though, is that anyone who sees a Meta ad must have a Meta account, either Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
And you are at the mercy of them being on the platform on a consistent basis in the season in which you're running the ads. Yeah. Whereas Google is all over the place, everywhere, every day. I had a call with a pastor this morning who we were talking about Google ads, and he said, my wife and I, we're uncomfortable with Google, so we've started using DuckDuckGo as our browser. Is there any way for us to advertise on another platform that's not Google? And I'm like, well, yes, but here's the thing. The vast majority of the audience that you're trying to reach, number one, they're still using Google. But here's the other thing. Okay. You can use DuckDuckGo. I pulled it up as an example. I said, okay, let's use DuckDuckGo as the browser and let's go to churchleaders.com. I want you to go to churchleaders.com and notice that on every single page there are ads. Do you know where those ads are coming from? They're Google display ads. So you can say you don't want to advertise on Google, you don't want to use Google, you want to run away and hide from Google. But right now, you still can't hide from Google. You're getting inundated with ads from Google, whether you're using a Google browser or Gmail or not. So I just say, hey, let's take advantage of the platform. It's everywhere all the time. What's funny, you mentioned advertising on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now called X. When we run Google display ads, I will pull an ad placement report for some of the churches that I work with, and we get Google display ads placed in the X app. So if you're using the Twitter app on your phone, sometimes the ads that you see in the app are actually Google display ads. They're not even Twitter-based ads or X-based ads. So the irony is Google's everywhere, and you don't have to have a social platform. And, we've said this before. We talk about this at our road shows. If you're looking to reach young men, YouTube is the place to be. YouTube is where you're going to reach young men, and you can get placements on YouTube using Google Performance Max ads and Google display ads. You can also run YouTube specific ad campaigns. We don't always recommend that as a primary advertising platform for churches, but you can get ad placements in YouTube using Google Display and Google Performance Max, and that's definitely worth it, I think. So, okay.
Yep.
Next question, which is actually probably going to dive a little bit deeper into something that we've already talked about a little bit here. But let's say a church is running ads. We're running ads and we're actually getting clicks. We're getting clicks from our Google ads.
It's working.
But, it's only halfway working because we're getting eyes on our website, but we're not actually getting people to walk through the doors. Like people are not, these new visitors on our website are not translating to new visitors on our campus. Yeah. What's the real problem here, Jason? What am I doing wrong?
Man, that's a great question because it's true. We know that these things work to generate traffic. And you put time and effort, you got the right platform, you got the right messaging, you got the right right image or video, they click. Now they're on your website. And then they have a kind of experience.
Yeah.
What's going on? Well, here's the thing that I always tell churches, and they're kind of like dumbfounded or surprised by this, but you have to understand wherever you're sending somebody to, and chances are it's a landing page of some sort, that is that user's home page experience. So often, this is just my experience of checking out landing pages. I'll give them my coaching 2 cents, be like, this is such insider language. It's almost like you expect I should know what you're telling me. Yet you got to understand that these clicks are coming from anybody that probably isn't aware of who you are, but you piqued their interest, they clicked, and now they're on your landing page. I see a lot of either lacking information or insider information, and you just kind of lost me. So, our website in general is like a whole nother topic of building a website that's actually going to speak to the one over the 99, if that makes sense. And you really need to talk to that person and have, there's a lot I could talk about this, but you got to have really great engaging content. You got to answer the question that they're asking, and you got to make it feel like I want to be a part of that. Those people look different. So just a couple of points here. Usually I don't have a very clear call to action, a button, plan your visit. Or I don't see an FAQ that it goes into detail. Like, do I bring my kids? What do I wear? How long is the service? Where are you located? What's the service times? What should I expect? Do I need to give? Where do I park? stuff that we just go, well, duh, because we've been church people for so long, especially at our church that we're working in. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself into the shoes of somebody who's maybe never been to church. By the way, that's a pretty large growing segment of our United States population. People who we call them unchurched or dechurched. People who have never been to church except for maybe a funeral or a wedding. They've never been to church. Yet we see that young men, specifically talk about YouTube, are the fastest growing segment of people coming to faith and wanting answers. And so when I talk to churches that we serve, I'll be like, who's coming to your church? All these young people are coming to our church, man. They are hungry for truth. Are they church? No, they're not church. Their parents don't go to church, so they don't go to church. So if they're checking you out, man, you really, really want to speak to them and make them the hero of their story, that you can help them. You've got it's the benefit statement. You've got something for them, and you want to give them clear call to actions on what they should do next. There's more to that. You're going to give me some.
Well, I'm going to actually ask you to follow up on something that you said a few minutes ago. You used the term conversions, and in the church world, the word conversion means one thing. We're talking about websites and advertising. Conversion is something else. I want you to do two things. One, I want you to kind of define what you mean when you say conversion, and how do we measure conversions on a website related to an ad campaign. And secondly, you've already kind of hit on this, but let's get a little bit more explicit. What are the things that actually kill conversions? What things on a website will actually kill conversions and actually stop the flow of someone moving through my website to explore and to find the things that I want them to find?
Well, slow load speeds.
Okay.
Information.
Before you get there, define what a conversion is. What is a conversion?
So in Google world, a conversion would be, they clicked on something, they stayed on the page long enough. They filled out a form. There's an action that the user took that creates a conversion. Just think of the marketplace. A conversion was somebody entered their credit card and hit pay now, right? And a conversion happened. A transaction happened. I love what you helped lots of churches with is, hey, let us send you an email on what you can expect on your first visit. Just enter your email address and hit submit. If they do that, that's a conversion. They converted. There's a transfer of information. That's when I talk about a conversion.
Oh, yeah. And on a side note there, when we build Google ad campaigns for churches, one of the things that actually helps the Google ad campaigns perform well is we use a platform called Google Tag Manager, and we program in Google Tag Manager the things that we want the user to be clicking on. Not every user needs to click on every button. So we have very specific things on the landing page, the home page, or the event landing page. And we're telling Google when a person, because we're not selling a product, Google doesn't know if we're winning from their ads.
No.
So Google knows we're winning when we say, hey, there's a plan a visit button, or there's an I'm new button, or there's a watch on demand button. And when someone clicks on that, it triggers this Google tag that says, oh, that's a win. Okay. So when somebody clicks on this ad and they land on this page, this is how we know they're winning. And so Google is monitoring those things as it's delivering ads, and it's trying to use AI to better place the ads in front of people who are A, going to click the ad, and B, then convert when they get to the website. Right. Yeah. So that's how it's using these things. So, so we talk about conversions or engagements. That's another way to say it. It's a measurable action on the website. What are the things that cause that process to break down? You said a slow load speed was one of them. Let's get back to that.
Confusion on the page. It's not organized very well. It's very dry. You're not telling a story. There's a lot of reasons why, you don't even have Tag Manager loaded. So Google's kind of like in the dark. They don't really know. You've got 7 opportunities. Well, if you give me 7, I'm going to pick 0. But if you give me 1 or 2, I'll probably pick one or the other. Very simple. And don't put give on that landing page. Hey, welcome to our church. Give. Don't do that. That's an insider. That's for the 99, right?
That can be in your bottom menu, and you can make it the biggest button you want. Just put it at the bottom of the page rather than the top of the page.
Yeah. And I see, but giving is an act of worship, which is a discipleship thing. Yes. But our goal isn't to get them to give. Our goal is to get them to click and engage so that they show up. Is that if you think about a funnel, the very, very bottom of the funnel, the very, 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 very bottom of the funnel is if they're not a follower of Jesus, we want them to have said yes, and now they're on a discipleship journey. That's way further down the funnel. We're way up here towards the top of the funnel to say we're trying to gain lots of awareness about your church to get some people to click. You just got some clicks. Now they're on their website. Right there, they're determining, do I want to take the next step and actually show up? Right. And that's a big hurdle for a lot of people because the website is going to inform. The website's no longer, we said this earlier, it's not the front porch. It's not the driveway. A guy named Josh, who's a coach, says it's the foyer. I think it's actually the living room. Our website is now like the living room or the foyer of our. They're inside of our house. They can see, they can watch a pastor, they can engage with you, they can crawl all kinds of stuff on your website now. The goal is to get them into the kitchen table, which is, we call that weekend worship. We want them sitting at the table, engage with us in worship. That's the ultimate, because at that point they can hear the gospel and then they're on their way. But a lot of times it just falls flat or it dies on that landing page on the website. And by the way, it's just not that landing page, it's the rest of the website. Because they're going to start clicking around and go, do I like what these guys, I have, 3 little kids maybe. Do they offer great stuff for my kids, or my kids can be bored? I don't want to be the guy who says, Mom, Dad, do we have to go back to that church? It was boring. They're never coming back if that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to have a website experience that absolutely matches what's going to take place in person, but that website experience has to be really engaging, and you just got to think through it. It's a strategy. You just got to think through it.
We have by default, we talk a lot about Google. But let's not ignore Meta. Let's talk a little bit. You talked about, a women's event. When is Meta advertising actually the right call for a church? I don't want to give the impression that Meta is bad and it never works. When should a church employ Meta advertising in their plan?
Well, I think it's when it's you want to build messaging, brand awareness. It's great. You can have really solid videos that showcase. You probably put that on Meta now, right? You're constantly posting your content on Meta for engagement, right? That's really great. If you're going to spend some money in Meta, specifically Facebook, then maybe it is something like more women-focused event. If you're doing a car show, probably not the right platform, unless you want to like, hey ladies, we have something for your men, a car show. Click here to learn and bring him to the car show. He'll love you for the whole week, kind of a thing, right? I mean, you got to have messaging that's going to focus on reaching women, because that's who's mostly engaging in Facebook and in Instagram. So to me, the focus would be on those kinds of high level events, or maybe some brand awareness about our messaging. We always do sermon clips. We were always telling churches, they do them, these sermon clips. Great. You could put them out there on Facebook. Now, do you want to boost them? I don't know, Bart, you could probably speak into what's the, do we want to spend money boosting something, or do we want to run a campaign that's going to be exclusive to reaching the whole area and driving tricks?
Yeah, I think, I'm going to speak anecdotally because it's been so long since I boosted anything, okay? Because I stopped boosting stuff a long time ago and started building ads. The understanding and the experience that I've had is that boosting a post or boosting content that you're posting organically can really be helpful in terms of driving engagement for that piece of content and potentially even increasing followers to your social platform. So boosting something on Instagram, boosting something on Facebook will increase the engagement, and it'll get more subscribers, more likes, right? If you want more likes and you want more followers, that's the way to do it. If you want people to click on something and take action, running an ad is going to be far more effective. It's just here's another example. You can boost content on your YouTube channel. boosting content on your YouTube channel will increase the watches, the amount of time watched, the engagement, and the number of subscribers to your channel. But I can almost guarantee you it will not drive anyone to your website to check out your church. But you can run ads in the YouTube platform that actually drive traffic to your website. Probably not a lot of traffic. It's probably the least effective platform for driving website traffic, but
it's probably a great target audience.
Yeah, but it's a different platform. I would say this again is only through looking at experiences that I've had with different churches that I've worked with. I think that meta campaigns tend to work better in small to mid-sized communities rather than larger cities and urban centers. When you're in a smaller community, word of mouth marketing is really, really huge.
Yeah.
And when you're in a smaller community and the vast majority of the women in your community are on Meta, there's the greatest way of getting word of mouth out there. Because when all the women in your community know what's going on, everybody knows what's going on. So if you're in a town of 5,000 or 15,000 or 35,000 people, I think that Facebook is a great partner to word of mouth marketing. If you're in an urban center like a Dallas or a Chicago or a New York or a San Francisco, I don't know that meta advertising is typically on a broad scale going to help you so much. Now, working with churches in larger cities, when we run big scale campaigns such as a Christmas campaign or an Easter campaign, at the time that you and I, at the time that this episode is released, we're deep in the throes of planning Easter marketing campaigns for churches this spring, and we'll be running some large scale ad campaigns for churches in all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Google, and even some in YouTube. And the goal there is everyone gets an invitation to join the life raft, right? Like, we don't want to leave anybody out. If you only target Google, then there are going to be some people that probably don't see your ads. If you only target the meta platforms, there's definitely going to be a lot of people in your community that don't see your ads. If you do both, you're hitting everybody from 18 to 85, men and women, and you have a much better chance of making sure that everybody knows about what you're offering to your community.
Yeah, and I think that you want to have a good strategy, and we're going to talk about some like stewardship stuff, like what should you do next. But you really want to have, like, I've never heard of a church say, we're a aging church, we're in our 70s, and we're wanting to reach 75-year-olds. Unless maybe in Florida, there's certain communities in Florida where they're retirement communities. Okay, we'll set that aside. Most of the country is trying to reach younger families. Like, right? You're trying to reach younger families. So you want to be on platforms that are going to reach these younger families. I will say this. I usually tell a church this kind of strategy as we talk about maybe how to be a better steward is usually you have a budget, right? Anybody who's hearing my voice, you're thinking in your head right now, okay, yeah, this is kind of my budget. If you don't go, well, I have a budget, you don't know what it is, go ask or pull up your overall church, your communications budget, and figure out how much do I have for digital advertising, and then build a strategy. So one of the things that I know that you talk about this all the time, Bart, is I love PMAX ads for kind of a evergreen, always running ad campaign that never stops. You don't start it and stop. You just let it run. Now you can swap out stuff as the year goes on, but you always want it to run because Google's built in such a way when you have all of the dials tuned in, you got your tag manager working right, analytics are working right, you got the landing pages that's really honed in. This thing will produce. You don't ever want to stop it, but you don't have to spend tons of money, but you can talk about the budget, $100, $200, $300 a month kind of a thing that never stops from a evergreen type of thing for PMAX. Awesome. And then you got your special kinds of things. And here's some information. Here's just some nuggets of truth. We always run Christmas ads. We always run Easter ads because those are the two biggest two biggest events of our Christian faith, right? So we always promote Christmas and Easter, but guess what? Every other church is also promoting Christmas and Easter. So you kind of have to do it, right? And a lot of people will come to church if invited. And so you got to do it. But here's the deal. There's other things going on in your church. And this is the question I ask. What's that other thing that you guys are doing? Maybe you do a fall kickoff. Maybe you've got some kind of a women's conference that's like in June when nobody else is doing anything. Maybe you have an event, a marriage series coming up in February where a lot of other churches are not advertising. Those are the times that you'd want to run that, hey, let's run a Meta campaign and a Google campaign because we want to reach everybody, invite everybody to this event. If it's a women's conference, heavy Facebook, obviously. But if there's something going on that you know is for the whole community that no other church is doing, those are the moments, and those are the times. Usually, maybe a big anniversary to have a huge picnic, and we're going to have bounce houses, and we're going to have a carnival and a petting zoo. Awesome! When are you doing that? We're doing that in September. Perfect. Advertise that. Put your eggs in that one because nobody else is probably advertising in the church world for some kind of an event.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of things. There are a few other bullet points on here that I wanted to get to that I think we'll just put off to another episode for another day, another time. But I want to kind of land the plane and tie a little bow on this particular episode. Just a couple of points of emphasis. You talked a lot about Google Performance Max ads. I think you're right. I think to be a good steward of your resources, Google Performance Max ads are one of the best ad types that we're seeing churches utilize. They're not specifically great for one-off events, but for evergreen, ongoing an ad type, they are really good. And when put together with a good Google Tag Manager strategy, I think they can really produce really good results. On the flip side, Jason, one of the things that we've talked about a lot is the quality of website, the quality of landing page. Whatever ad types you're running, if you don't have a good landing page or a good website with a good website strategy to drive your traffic to, it can really adversely affect the results of your promotions in your marketing campaign. Rather than kind of camping out on this any further, do you have any real parting shots as it relates to websites? Anything else that you wanted to add there?
Yeah, well, first thing, get some help and some knowledge. Have somebody speak into your website on your behalf. And we do that. We do that a lot. We'll run a website audit of a church. That's complimentary. You just have to schedule a call with myself or Bart or one of our coaches. And we'll run an audit of your website. And we'll tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know, you're just not aware, how are you ever going to have a strategy to improve? So knowledge and education is half of the problem here, right? And we've got answers for you. And the other half is, now let's roll up our sleeves and do something. That might be you do it on your own. That might be you hire somebody like us or another group. Regardless, the goal is to have a strategic, really well built, maintained, and an organized website that actually moves the needle. Because if you're going to spend money on advertising, yet it's a kind of a cruddy experience, you are not being a good steward of the money that people from their hard-earned money in their bank account gave to the church. They tithed and gave money to the church. You've been entrusted to spend that money well. I mean, you just said it earlier, Bart. A church says, we want to spend money. You're going, no. Because I'm speaking on behalf of Bart. We have to be good stewards of the dollars as well. Right? So if we see something that a church wants to spend money with us and we're going, this looks awkward, I'm not taking your money. We report to Jesus just like you do. So we have to be good stewards. You have to be good steward. So you definitely want to get educated, get organized, have us run an audit for you and help you understand what you need to do so that you can confidently spend money and start to see more people walking through the doors of your church. That's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. Yeah. And like I said, we can set you up with a one-on-one call with one of our coaches who will just kind of walk through your website and do a basic audit for you. We do have a more in-depth audit that we can do that's more of a paid service that can do a little bit more SEO and generative engine optimization. There's no obligation to do that. We just want to be helpful for you. We're confident that if we can help you, then you can better manage your resources when it comes to digital marketing and digital outreach. And ultimately, God's kingdom will be expanded and your community will be blessed. Click over to missionalmarketing.com and you can schedule a meeting. There's a link on there to get in touch with us. And I think your face is on there. People can actually schedule a meeting with you. They might not get you. They can try.
Face.
Yeah, get past the base. It's a good face, Jason. They might not get you. They might click on your face and set something up. They might get one of our other coaches, but man, we've got some really talented coaches on our team that can help out with that, and we would love to do that. Hey, that's all we've got for the 177th episode of the Missional Marketing Podcast. If you've made it all the way here to the end, thanks for sticking with us. We just want to remind you to subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast so that you don't miss any future episodes. And if you think that this episode will be helpful for someone that you know, please send them a link, share the love. God bless, and we'll see you next time.